Okay, so last lesson we spent a bit of time doing our line drawing. Hopefully it's taken you about an hour, but I do want you to start setting full sets of time aside now to be working. So you should be doing a minimum of 3 hours a week on your artwork. And remember, this is going towards your final mark, so it is worth spending time on it. I'm going to be posting you home another set of equipment. So there's going to be some extra paper, carbon paper, tracing paper, but also a B and a 2B pencil, because I would like you to start using equipment and I don't quite know what you've got at home, so it's just easier for me to keep sending you bits and pieces home. So we're going to start thinking about shading now and adding a little bit of shading to our picture. So I want you to remember, you've got your B pencil, you have a tonal range from black right the way through to white paper, and then you've also got a 2B pencil. If you ever go with both of them, you'll find that this does feel a lot softer. Okay, and you'll get a slightly bigger range of colour from your 2B than you will your B. Okay, I would tend to start with my 2B because I am working on the softer bits and the shadows to start off with. Okay, so if you squint slightly at your picture, you'll work out where the darkest areas are. And that's what you want to start off with, is start off with a little bit of shading. So I've got that area there in my nostril. It's quite dark in there anyway. Don't be tempted at the moment just to start smudging and blending everything, because you're going to end up then with a grey face. It'll make you look like you've just come out of a coal mine. The advantage of having it on your phone is that you can zoom in. There's a nice close-up there of my nose. But it just means then that you've got that ability just to see it a little bit closer up. Compare your tonal ranges. So nothing's as dark as that nostril, but it's probably just a little bit darker. Highlight here, so I'm not worried about that. If I look at my nose, I've got a definite highlight that's just there on my nose, so I'm not going to worry about that. But I'm just going to start adding just definite shadows where I can see them. So I've got a shadow here coming down from my glasses. I know my glasses are dark, but I'm not going to fill those in yet. Now my nose is sort of like a mid-tone. So just using my pencil, I'm just going to shade in this sort of mid-tone on my nose. I've got that highlight there, and it gets a little bit lighter as it comes out and around the top. A little bit darker there where your nose goes in, just behind the edge of your nostril. Then you can start doing a little bit of softening down and blending. Your rubber is going to be your other tool that you're going to need, because you're going to want to come back in then and just look at where it's a little bit lighter and just take a little bit of pencil off. But like I said, do not get too bogged down with blending everything. Okay, so just a little bit of shading there on my nose. If you come down a little bit, this area is very light. I've got a tiny little bit of shadow here. So this is when you're really taking the pressure off your pencil. Just soften it down. When you're softening, blend in the direction that your face is going. So this is my cheek. So I'm going to blend in that direction. I'm not really going to do anything there. A tiny little bit of shading here. And I think one of the things that happens sometimes when people are doing this is they end up doing too much shading. So if I look at my lips, I've got a tonal range coming out and round. So I'm going to use my 2B pencil just to get that darker area in. Now, when you're doing tiny bits of detail, sometimes then the 2B is a little bit too soft. You're not able to get that detail. So if I look at my lips here, there's a lot of detail going on, and this is a little bit soft. So this is where I'd then move on to my B pencil. Then I can come in and I'm really looking at this detail. Now if I compare the dark to dark, it is nearly as dark as my nostril. So I've got these little creases in my lip. Now the bottom lip is nowhere near as dark as that top lip. A little bit of shade in there. But again, there's not too much. Okay. If I compare the two, the top lip actually is a little bit darker. I've got little creases there on my lip. So again, with your B pencil, you can come back in and then very lightly, very, very lightly, I'm just going to add a little bit of tone just onto that top lip because the light's coming down. So the light hits my bottom lip more than my top lip. A little bit of shade in here. Okay, now you're going to have at least 2 hours on this, and I would like you to time yourself, and I would like you to stop after 2 hours. So choose the features on your face to start off with, and just work your way out from there. So I'm going here, I've got a little shadow underneath my bottom lip, so I've put a little bit of darker tone on, and then I've gone with a lighter tone on the top. I know I've got a highlight that's here, the light's hitting there, so this needs to be just that little bit darker, but it's only a tiny bit. Like I say, sometimes this shading is hardly there. That's when the blending works, because you can put the shading where you need it and then blend it into the area where you don't, and then still come back in with your rubber and just work on that highlight. Okay, so you can see that face is beginning to come together. So come in here then. I've got this darker area here on my chin. So again, compare it to the darker areas that you've done, and it's probably this sort of tone. And it's a slightly bigger area, so I've gone back to my 2B, but I can see this colour's coming up and over onto my chin. So I'm just going to soften it out. So as I'm going with that pencil, I'm pressing on and I'm softening that tone as I'm going along. Okay, so this is the darkest bit, and it's still quite dark all the way down my chin, but not quite as dark as there. So if you've got a darker area, build it up with 2 or 3 layers of pencil. Don't try and do it all in one. And then this needs to come down onto my neck. So I'm taking the pressure off the pencil and just creating that shadow. So here I can blend this up now. So you'll notice with that 2B pencil, you can really start smudging. So your finger's going to get a little bit muckier. You can see that tone. I want it to go a little bit darker. So I'm going to come back over the top, because I need that definite feeling that that is my chin, and that's where it's gone underneath. One of the things that you can do when you're doing stuff like this is take a photograph of what you've done and then have a look at it on your screen. When I'd taken the photograph before of this, I realised with my line drawing I hadn't got the back of the head wide enough, and the top had gone a little bit too rounded, so I just flattened it off a little bit. Oops, it's gone off on my phone. So what I want you to do is carry on working on your drawing. Set yourself a timer, because I really want you to get used to how long it is actually to do a piece of work that's of value and quality. And that's what I'm looking for. I would rather have a section of this finished beautifully in 2 hours than all of it being rushed. So I'm just looking here, and what I said about going in with your darker tones first. So I've got the shadow there. With the glasses, with my B pencil, I've got a highlight on my glasses. I need to draw that in. So if anybody's drawing glasses, this is what you're going to have a look at. And then I have a highlight, comes out from my nose and up. So that I've drawn these in ready. Right there. Okay. So It's a bit different this because I can't quite see the whole of my eye. So again, zoom in. So especially if you've been doing it, if you worked off a selfie and you'd done a filter, you're going to be dealing with the distortion that's going on with that. So that'll be interesting to see. So here, my eye. Now, the worst thing you can do when you're doing this is slap your eyelashes on straight away. Okay? Eyelashes are some of the last things that you're going to do. Now, with this, I can't quite see my eye. It's just darks and lights. So I need to trust that what I'm doing is right. So treat it as in darks and lights, shadows. So I've got dark coming round to light, going round there. And then at this side of my eye where I've got the white part, got a little bit of shadow at the top, a bit lighter as it comes round. Got a highlight that I need to leave. Then I've got the crease of my eye. That's also a little bit lighter than some other little creases there. And a little bit of shadow. Now I've got hair coming in. Hair, I'll show you hair in a second if some of you decide that you want to start working with the hair that you've got. So just soften it with your finger a little bit. Okay, so you can sort of see I'm beginning to get that idea of my eye. I need to come back into that with my B pencil. But hair, you need to draw hair as if you're drawing all the strands. So looking at this section here, it's lighter at that side and it's dark at the top here and it's coming down. So I'm going to start with my 2B pencil, just looking at the darker bits. And I tend to put my finger over the section that I'm drawing. It just helps me. I know I'm not going to get it 100% accurate, but it just means that I'm beginning to look at certain areas for darks and lights. So you're going to go in first with your shadow. We're always going in first with shadow. Okay, come over here. I've got a darker bit where it's going down the side of my head. So even if your hair is really pale, you've still got darks and lights. If your hair is really dark, you've still got highlights. So you still need to look at that. Okay, then just soften it down. Do your finger in the direction that it's growing. Then rubber comes back in and you want the point of your rubber and you're going to draw the highlights back in. Then get your B pencil and these ones, because this is a harder pencil, you can then come back over the top with actual individual strands of hair. So the back bit creates the tone. This front bit adds the detail for the hair coming over the top. Okay, now if your hair is going over your forehead, one of the things that I would do is before I finalise my hair, I would shade my forehead because your hair comes over your forehead. So if I look at mine, that's quite light. So I've got a little bit of shadow that's just at the side of my head there, but it gets light really, really quickly. Again, shadow, and it gets light really, really quickly. A little bit of shadow there. Soften that down. If you need to put a highlight back in it, get your rubber, pop a highlight back in. And then what you can do with your B pencil is you can then come over the top and your hair then comes over the top of your forehead, so it disappears underneath. And then if you've got individual strands of hair that are just sort of sticking out a little bit, you can pop those in as well. And then you're going to start building up your portrait. But this is going to be a 2-hour piece of work. I really look forward to seeing what you do.